Sup, you chuckle fucks? It's your boy Dark Raku here with What If Issei had ate 3 devil fruits. Now, before I go on with this what if, let me mention something. I did upload this in the morning, so it's like 12 hours ago. Wait, let me actually. Hey, 15 hours. Guess what? I don't care. So I did kind of just did it for like 30 minutes, if Issei, whatever. Like 30 minutes on that what if beginning part 1. The reason why I did it for that long is because I wanted to go to sleep. That's all I wanted to do. So I did not really go to sleep yesterday that well. So yeah. And I should also mention that I have work today, so yeah, and also I'm going to have work again tomorrow because we didn't finish since mostly rain came at a fucking worst timing in the whole fucking day. So that happened. So yeah. But what else did I mention? Oh yeah. So when I did it for 30 minutes, I went into my bed. I fell asleep for at least 1 hour before mostly my parents kind of coming back home and we had to go to work. So mostly me and my dad. Yeah, that happened. And at least I had some rest time sleep because I was dead ass tired. So yeah. That's not the point. Let me begin into what if. Let me shut the fuck up. And let me begin. Haha. I don't know what the fuck I'm going on for. Whatever. But we go into Issei. Now, Issei woke up mostly. Well, he didn't wake up. He's still asleep. But when he woke up, he thought he woke up to reality. But for some reason, he saw 3 strange figures. One had a greenish aura, one had a very icy blue aura, and the last one had a very bluish phoenix kind of aura. Even though he never met a phoenix, but yeah. But of course, that's not the point. Mostly, Issei sees these auras, and all of them just look at him. Now, of course, even though he can't see their eyes entirely, he sees that they are looking at him. Now, of course, he's so confused, but this is where, well, Issei then felt very strange around his body, like a purplish glow actually appearing, but yeah. So, mostly this color of aura is like a darkish purplish color, but at the same time it's like a lightish purple color. And of course his eyes glow purple for a second. This is where his hair actually starts kind of going into a yellowish color. A yellowish goldenish color for a second. This is where he looks at the 3 figures, of course kind of menacing me a little bit. This is where an aura actually appearing around him. And this is where, well, he looks at the figures. Now, of course, this is where, well, the figures decide to start disappearing. Even his aura and also his eyes going back to normal. And mostly his aura disappearing, but mostly his hair also going back to a normal brownish color. And him kind of passing out in the dream world. This is where he woke up and realized it is right now, like, mostly, like, let's say that it's already like 7 in the morning. This is where he kind of came around when he went home. He came around like it was somewhere around like 9 because with his date with Yuma. But of course, when he got home, he just passed the fuck out. Of course, he was confused. He was actually sweating. He was actually like having a cold sweat down his like mostly his body. He was confused. For some reason, those figures actually appeared. Now, of course, he for some reason has a strange glimpse of memory on figures actually appearing during the different days that he was kind of passed out and kind of sick. Now, of course, mostly when he was heating up, he felt like he was feeling like he was becoming some kind of like fire monster, like a phoenix or something, close to being like a phoenix. And one day he actually dreamed of being like a phoenix for a second. Of course, that's when he was passing out, when he was in mostly the hospital. Of course, when it was becoming really cold for some reason, in his dream it was becoming really cold, and it seems like a blizzard, but his body adapted to the blizzard and becoming like a cold ice figure. Now, of course, he didn't understand too much on those dreams too much, but when mostly the ice cold figure was fighting against a very powerful opponent that he could only use defense, he was feeling like he had it to get stronger in defense in his dreams. This is where his body adapted in an instinct to make a barrier appear, and of course is where Issei was chuckling saying, "Ha! You will never be able to defeat me!" He was just thinking it was just crazy dreams that he had. But they were strange because it wasn't actually about Opie at all. Now, of course, well, when Issei now realized that he needs to connect all these dots together because he feels strange. His body feels so much stranger than normal. He needs to find out what exactly is happening to his body. Not just that, mostly those 3 kind of weird ability power dreams are connected to his body, but they're not entirely. something more kind of malicious and powerful is inside his body that just got awoken a while ago. Now, of course, he doesn't know, but mostly Issei is kind of going to have to figure out his family lineage. So, yeah. Now, we go into mostly Issei trying to fall asleep for another, like, 2 hours until it becomes, like, 9 or something. But, of course, he can't. So, of course, this is where, well, he decides to kind of go do some digging in what's it called, the attic. Or, when not attic, he kind of just go on his computer and mostly kind of like search up about strange diseases, abilities, powers, anything that will actually connect to his strange, weird effects. This is where, well, he can't find anything entirely. He gets bored, and of course, where, well, he decides to go onto manga. He just like straight up manga on his like computer, and straight up just looks for something. This is where, well, something to just read for the passing couple of hours. This is where, well, he comes upon One Piece. Now, of course, if we can remember right, he remember kind of stopping at chapter like somewhere near 300. So, of course, he just starts kind of reading it. So, yeah. This is where, well, one character actually pops up pretty interesting to him. Mostly someone named Aokiji Kazaru. Now, of course, where, well, when he was, well, not 300. I don't actually know when Aokiji Kazaru actually appears in the manga. And, yeah, I haven't really read the manga, so, yeah. I'm gonna just say somewhere around 300, okay? Mostly, he pops up around there, and this is where, well, it's quite interesting. Issei is reading the character, and the character seems to have, like, this ice ability. It's not tangible like the other Logia devil fruits. And, of course, where, well, when he looks at mostly the Logia devil fruits, now that he thinks about it, the Logia, well, not Logia devil fruits, just devil fruits in general. This is where he searched it up on his, like, laptop. He got out of from that mostly webpage and went into another site, just mostly Google. It says Google, and this is where he searched up devil fruits, mostly appearance, and he just like looks at all of them. They have strange lines or different colors, whatever, and of course there's 3 types. There's Zoan, Logia, and Permission. Now, of course, where, well, mostly when he reads upon mostly the Zoans are basically mythical creatures, like, or, well, not just mythical creatures. It's a devil fruit that allows you to give you the power of any type of animal it's actually supposed to go to, or whatever the devil fruit is supposed to be. Like, say, a bull, you can become a bull, you can become a bird, you can become even a fucking phoenix. This is where Issei thinks about it. Who is the original character to even have the phoenix devil fruit in One Piece? He searched through that and found out that someone named Marcos, mostly someone who was a first division captain of that of mostly, well, the Whitebeard pirates. Now, of course, he gets a little bit content because mostly the flames are a bluish flame color in what's it called, One Piece. He then decides to remember that one time when he had that hole. He was confused. This is where, well, he then thinks about, are devil fruits weird? Now that he thinks about it, or not weird, mostly real. And this is where, well, he thinks about it for a second and thinks he might be just going insane for a second. He then shakes off the thought, but this is where, well, he then looks for Kazaru's devil fruit. He finds Kazaru's devil fruit being an ice Logia type devil fruit. He reads upon the Logias, and basically they give out like tangibility, but mostly the ice devil fruit that mostly Kazaru has doesn't give out the tangibility because it's ice. There's no way to go through ice. This is where it says there is no way to get through ice, but if you turn the ice into a liquid like water, or just turn it into a gas like nitrogen, it can be, well, mostly it can definitely, you can still become a tangibility. Issei thinks about it like more like that. He then thinks about it more. He does feel very cold sometimes, and he knows nitrogen is a type of what's it called, like gas that freezes your hand in a couple of fucking minutes if you just stay there for too long. So yeah, it doesn't freeze in a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes. Just don't be an idiot and don't put it for like 10 minutes or whatever, and your hand is just going to be frozen. It will never be back to normal, but yeah. That's not the point. He then looks for the last type of devil fruit, mostly that of the permission. Now, of course, he finds that the permission devil fruits are those who just kind of change your body entirely to that of the material it's supposed to be. There's barrel type devil fruits, Gama Gama no Mi. There's the, what's it called, string devil fruits. There's other types. Now, of course, where, well, he's looking at this and saying, why does this seem interesting? He then kind of stumbles upon Hawking on the One Piece. He then kind of reads upon three different types of Hawking: Armorman Hawking, Conqueror's Hawking, and what's it called, Opposition Hawking. He reads upon opposition Hawking being the type of like spiritual Hawking, where you can feel the spiritual around, mostly around you, being people or animals or just anything in general that you're looking for. And of course, mostly nature can count of that, but whatever. Of course, that Arbitration Hawking can advance to that of Future Sight, or mostly Animal Hawking. I forgot what that Hawking was called again, but there was other Hawkings. But yeah, this is where he then reads upon Armor Hawking, and Armor Hawking is basically you coat yourself in this kind of like wheel of mostly your will, but it turns into black color or whatever color that you basically supposedly have. Black is just normally the regular basic one. This is where he then reads upon that Hawking. This is where there's other type of color Hawkings, but this is where he reads upon mostly Armament Hawking being able to advance to other stages, to go into advanced Armament Hawking and other stuff. Now, of course, then there's Conqueror's Hawking, and Conqueror's Hawking is supposed to be the rarest Hawking in the One Piece world, where it's kind of very iffy for people to even have. You have to be born by either a specific lineage, or basically you're just lucky. You're one of the lucky, rare few ones to have Conqueror's Hawking. But yeah, this is where he then reads upon Conqueror's Hawking. It's basically you use your will upon everyone else and dominate them. For some reason, he has a weird feeling that he has done something like this similar twice or maybe once. He can't remember. This is where he feels like he did it on the dream on accident when he kind of saw the three opposing figures. But this is where he can't remember that much. He then thinks about looking at the different colors of Hawking. There's red, blue, white, yellow, whatever. And there's also purple, dark purple, mostly dark purple and purple. Basically, they're similar, the same, and they're kind of powerful. Now, of course, where Issei thinks about it and says, purple. I kind of like purple. Issei thinks about it. This is where, Issei then shakes his head and says, wait, what am I going on with? Whatever. Issei then keeps looking around, mostly looking information. Of course, if devilfruits were real and Hawking was real, he would not hesitate he would just start training like hell. He basically would love to have any type of devilfruits. It doesn't matter which one. Actually, it does matter. It better not be one of the useless ones like the Jacket no Me or whatever. So, of course, Issei thinks about it and says, if I had any type of devilfruit, it'd be fucking just where, he's looking around and just saying, it'd definitely be Casado's devilfruit, the Logia type, or even Marco's devilfruit. Or maybe even that baritone devilfruit user. The burial one. It seems interesting. Basically, it can't be pierced by any Hawking, even that of Conqueror's Hawking. This is where he kind of managed to find a little spoiler about mostly fight against Shanks, and this is where the person is just scratching their ass and just like saying, need a hand? Shanks is just confused over here, what the fuck? This is where, Issei's chuckling and saying, yeah, that's such a powerful defense devilfruit. The ice devilfruit is quite versatile, and even the Loki, mostly the Zoan being Marcos. If I had any of those three devilfruits, I would have been a happy gopher. This is where Issei says with such a smile, and this is where, Issei then thinks about it and thinks, those devilfruits that I look at, mostly of the pictures, they're not actually confirmed pictures, but yeah, but mostly since you can't, not the point. Mostly, Issei says, those pictures do look similar to the ones I ate those fruits those days. Nah, maybe I'm just going to think, I'm overthinking this. This is where Issei looks at the clock and sees 9, and that's where Issei's like, ooh, right, gotta go downstairs. I'm hungry as hell anyway. This is where, Issei goes downstairs, sees his mom already cooking, making a English, English breakfast, being what's it called, eggs, and even what's it called, French toast, and other stuff, but yeah, I don't know what English people eat, but yeah, I'm gonna just say his mom knows how to make English, fucking food. Either from England, America, and other stuff, okay, don't worry about that. Issei eats it, and of course, where, he just eats it, thinking about mostly his lineage. This is where, he then asks his mother about who exactly his grandparents were. This is where his mother kind of says, quite odd, an odd question for you to kind of ask, but why do you ask? Mostly Mika asks. This is where Issei says, oh, nothing. I just want to know more about my lineage. Mostly from your side and mostly dad's side. This is where Mika thinks about it and say, okay, fine. I'll tell you. You don't have anything to do today, do you? This is where Issei says, nope, I don't. This is where, well, Issei decides to start listening to his mother. Mostly the whole kind of like morning / the afternoon somewhat. And of course, where, well, Issei understands a little bit of what his lineage is connected to. Mostly, his mother explains a little bit of his like grandparents, basically his grandmother and his grandfather, and of course, mostly her grandparents. But yeah, this is where Issei is trying to figure out more. This is where he finds out that his grandfather was a martial artist user. He's like a martial art user. He's still alive, by the way, and other things. Of course, his grandmother is what's it called? Mostly um she used to be a caretaker in like the hospitals. Mostly she was like a nurse somewhat, and she was pretty good. She was good at her job. She was almost close to being a doctor without having the degree and other shit. But of course she was too old, and of course she's still inactive, but not much. This is where he then, mostly not he, mostly she then also explains about their grandparents and blah 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 and other things. Of course, where mostly she explains about her kind of her grandfather, not Issei's grandfather. Her grandfather used to be a swordsman, mostly her father's side, and of course he was like a powerful swordsman who basically was able to do a lot of crazy stuff, but she didn't really understand it too much, and she really never was interested in swords. Issei was not interested indeed. This is where, she then goes on with her kind of like grandmother's side. And of course, mostly her grandmother's side was like an or what was it? What was those freaking people that just discover like bones and other stuff? I forgot the fucking name. I want to say architect, but I don't know if that's the right word. I can't remember. But of course, she explains that mostly they were interested in a bunch of artifacts and these strange looking fruits half the time. Which she then also explained to Issei, if you eat a strange looking fruit, just get worried for an ability. Mostly that's what her grandmother said towards her. Now, of course, Mika. And that's where, Mika says that she never did believe in her grandmother, thinking her grandmother was crazy at that time. This is where Issei says, never eat a strange looking devil fruit? Well, not devil fruit, a fruit? What would they call again? Don't know, Mika said. I never did pay attention. They were just strange fruits with different lines and, of course, being colors, either flame colors, whatever. She just said never to eat them or you will lose the ability to swim. Wait, what? He says, hey, wait, what? This is where Mika says, I don't know. I really don't know. This is where, he says, So, what about our, like, descendant or mostly ancestors? Mika says, I do have a book about all our ancestors. I really did not read upon our ancestors, so I can give you the book if you really want to be interested. He says, yes, please. This is where, Mika gets the book, and of course, this is where she has to, like, mostly at a safe. And this is where, she, like, comes back downstairs and gives it towards Issei. This is where, the book cover itself has the, letter of mostly D. This is where, Issei says, what's with the D? Don't fucking ask. I don't know. Just, why are you questioning me? I don't really know much about our ancestors that much. I've only even read upon the book. This is where Mika says, she has kind of a little sore headache from Issei's question. Issei nods and says, sorry about that, Mom. This is where, Mika says, no, it's fine. This is where, Issei then reads upon the mostly, like, ancestors. Of course, it does take the whole afternoon about to read upon it, because it mostly does explain about the family lineage. This is where, he realized that one thing is for sure. Hyodo is not supposed to be his actual last name. What it's supposed to be is actually something called Doxy. Doxy, mostly just, Doxy or Doxy, whatever you say, or mostly, something called like Donkey Hellcat or Doxy or whatever the hell it's called. Mostly think of Doflamingo's last name. Okay, I can't remember what it's called. But this is where, Issei is kind of just looking at the name, and of course he then reads upon the origins and other things. Of course, his mother tells him to kind of go to sleep because tomorrow is school. Issei says, "Fine, I'll go to sleep." Of course, he did eat some dinner before kind of going to sleep, but yeah, he then kind of just wants to read more upon his like lineage, and of course, if he figures out more in what exactly his lineage is connected to, he will be a happy gopher. But yeah. Issei decides to go to school, but before, well, thinking of going to school, he decides to take the lineage book to actually read upon it at school. Because there's really nothing to do at school. There is the work and other shit that he needs to do, but pretty much other than that, it's kind of boring during lunch period. Unless he wants to go with his friends and go peep. Not really. He's not really interested right now to go peep. He then goes to school, of course, still looking like Sanjin Woo's. I should mention, he's still drip as fuck. Even if he is wearing the school uniform, but yeah. Issei is like getting to, well, mostly school. This is where, well, he has his hair kind of just like covering his eyes for a second. And of course, where, well, Issei is kind of sleeping. He was actually falling asleep there at the time he was walking. He doesn't even know how he got from point A being his house to point B being the school. Just he was half asleep during the whole time walking, which it was confusing because he didn't even remember walking. He felt like he was sleeping, and he was just confused. But yeah, when he was getting to mostly the school and walked through the gate, this is where, well, Shitora, mostly Sona Shitora, just stop him in an instant saying, "Who are you?" This is where, well, Issei forgot that he wasn't even wearing the uniform. Well, not exactly. I should mention one thing. Issei kind of grew out of mostly wearing the uniform. He used to be 5'7", now he's actually like 6 feet. Yeah, Issei grew a couple of inches more taller. This is where, well, Sona questioned who exactly Issei was. Issei says, Sona, I need a little help about school uniform. This is where, well, Sona looks confused at mostly the person. She blinks and then decides to just tell Issei to follow her. But yeah, she doesn't even know this is Issei. This is where, well, mostly Issei does have the backpack of the school, but yeah, because, yeah, he doesn't need to forget about that. This is where, well, what Issei is basically wearing is basically just this. So he was basically looking like this, straight up having like a black kind of button-up shirt, and of course black pants, but yeah. This is where, well, mostly Issei kind of just gets towards Sona's office, and Sona then questioned on Issei about what exactly does he need for the uniform. This is where, well, Issei says that he needs the uniform to be a little bit much taller and much more, how should he say, kind of the right size for him. Mostly an extra large, since he kind of grew a couple of inches. Yeah, this is where Issei said. Sona sighs and says, what height is he right now at? This is where Issei says 6 feet. This is where she says, okay, damn, you kind of grew. Wait, how... This is where Sona questioned and how tall he was before. He says somewhere around 5'7". This is where Sona says, okay, you grew way too much on only a couple of days. Actually, before I go on, what is your name exactly? Issei says, Issei Haidu. Or this is where Issei wanted to say the last name that he found out truly, but he decides to hold on to it. This is where, well, mostly from the lineage book. This is where, well, right now Sona takes the mother of all double takes in an instant, straight up look at Issei, then decides to go search up Issei's name on the like computer, and then just takes like a couple of different looks. Mostly looks at Issei right now, right in front of her, looks back at mostly his like computer picture, looks back up, looks back down, looks back up. This is where Issei says, "Are you okay?" This is where Sona just says, yes, I'm okay. Just one question. Are you sure? Did I hear that right? Can you please say your name again? This is where Issei says, Issei. This is where, well, Sona says, yes. Huh. Weren't you supposed to be sick? Issei says, yeah, I was supposed to be sick for a couple of days. For some reason, my temperature rises up to that of 200 or 300 or 400 Fahrenheit before, and I was freezing cold during the time in the hospital. I was taking like 2 more days of not showing up to school, and then after that, I felt great, but then I felt still sick, so I was still in the hospital for a couple of more days. Got home, and yeah, the doctors don't even know how I grew to this extension size. At the same time, they don't even know how I become muscular at the same time. So blame my doctors. They probably gave me some steroids and I became like this. Don't I don't take steroids, Issei said. This is where, well, Sona just nodded dumbly. This is where, well, she said, okay. This is where, well, Sona said, Issei, uh-huh. So your height of measurement, I need to measure it. Issei said, okay. Wait, why do you need, this is where Sona says, don't question it. Just lift up your shirt for a second. Issei says, nope, not happening. This is where Sona says, huh? Wait, what? This is where Issei says, I'm not falling for such a stupid ass trick. This is where, well, Sona says, what do you mean? He said, you want to actually see how muscular and toned I am from the fact that they probably gave me steroids and I was unconscious. Sona says, no. Her face becomes a tinted blushing what she just said because she wasn't actually paying attention what she was actually saying. So, yeah. This is where, well, Issa said, just to tell you the realize of my height difference and also my measurements, Issei goes into a measurement of how tall he is and what exactly clothing he will need, and it'll be kind of an extra large for being the height. But yeah, mostly the waist of mostly the wide of the clothes doesn't even need to change that much because he just became like taller but lankier at the same time, lean muscles mostly. This well. Issa says, so yeah, that's basically the measurements. I measure myself when I was coming to the school because I noticed one thing. Yeah, that was not supposed to happen, mostly my clothes being changed. But yeah, this is well, Sona nodded and says, okay, well, you're free to go, Issei Hyodo. This is where, well, she said, very kind of dumbly, blushing a little bit in what she just exactly said. Issei said, also, before going, you ever want to play chess? I actually am interested in that chessboard you have up there. This is where, well, Sona looks at it and says, sure. Issa says, okay, well, other than that, bye. Actually, when am I going to get my uniform? I don't really want to stay in these clothes and kind of be noticed by the entire school and why the fuck I'm wearing black. Then again, I should have probably, no, I'm keeping it being black because I don't like standing out too much. Other than that, I should have probably got a hood. I really want to cover myself up now. I do not like people looking at me too much. Well, other than that, bye. Issei walks away from her and just where, well, Sona says, yeah, bye. This is where she blushes madly because for one reason is for sure, she did not really watch her words from the fact that she was telling Issei to take off his shirt. So basically, she should measure him. This is where, well, she really needs to figure out to actually calm down most of the time around Issei. Because Issei did change entirely. And of course his attitude, aura, and other things did change entirely. Now, she doesn't understand, but yeah. Issei is walking, and of course he's getting to a class. This is where, well, he's getting to class, but this is where, well, he sees a bunch of girls kind of screaming out, saying, oh my god, is that the Prince of Koop? Issei noticed Kiba and say, oh hell no. That's where Issei right now hides in what's it called, the like closet of what's it called, the closet of, well, the janitors. Just sits there until the noise disappears, and of course Kiba's out of sight. This is where Issei then pulls out his phone, decides to start hearing music and just waiting. He doesn't care how long he waits, but yeah. So this is the song he's hearing right now called The Rain by Netflix, but yeah. This is where, well, Issei is hearing that song while kind of, well, waiting until Kiba disappears. And also the kind of fan club that he has right now. He waits inside the closet for a while. Of course, literally hiding. This is where, well, Issei then tries to kind of wait until he doesn't hear anything outside. Which he doesn't hear anything anymore when he puts his ears close up. But he also doesn't feel like there's a bunch of people outside no more. He gets out of the closet, he sees no one entirely, no screams, no nothing, and of course he then just walks away, kind of getting to class. Now he looks down on his phone, he noticed that it's almost time for class, so he has to start rushing. He's running down the hallway in an instant, even though he doesn't feel like it, but he needs to fucking run. He's running, kind of just like sliding through most of the corners, just trying to run to his class. But he didn't actually, well, he did see where he was going, but he wouldn't be able to stop fast enough because, well, he was about to smash into someone when someone turns the corner. This is where it was a girl with kind of longish blackish hair. She had kind of reddish eyes, and her kind of busty figure kind of makes it all the most better. Now, of course, well, she was kind of wearing this school uniform, but of course it was a little bit kind of ragged, a little bit, but yeah. This is where, well, she turns around the corner and then sees Issei. Both their eyes connect and widen in, well, surprise. But of course, where, well, she was surprised because someone was literally running through the hallways, while Issei was surprised someone literally was in the corner. This is the worst mistake. This is where both of them smashed it into each other. Of course, Issei was, well, kind of above her, like basically above her, but managing to use his arm to kind of, well, not fall in, like, fully onto her, mostly both kissing. But of course, where, well, we'll see Issei say, this is where both of them are just looking at each other, right now blushing from the fact that they're both so close. This is where Issei says, sorry about that. Issei gets up in an instant, and of course lifts his hand towards Mosi, or kind of gives her hand, well, his hand towards Mosi, the girl. The girl kind of takes it. Of course, this is where she had a tint of blush on her face, because she never seen someone this kind of handsome, unless you're talking about Kiba, or maybe any of the other pro boys. Now, of course, he doesn't seem to be wearing the school uniform, but of course, mostly from the fact that he just can't wear the school uniform. This is where, well, Issa says, sorry about that. I almost bumped into you. I should probably not be running down the hallways or be accidentally bumping into other people. This is where, well, she nodded and said, no, it's fine. This is where, well, Issa has kind of seen this girl for, well, not that much, but he has seen her around the school. If you can remember right, her name was, so she was kind of, well, like 5'3", but this is where, well, her name was Kenzaki, Kenzaki, her name was Kenzaki Saruki, and this is where, well, she was kind of blushing. This is where, well, when her red eyes connected with Issei's kind of goldenish brown eyes, they both kind of look at each other. Of course, where he had a little bit of tint of blush now that he thinks about it. She actually looks quite adorable when she's kind of blushing and getting nervous around him. And this is where, well, Issei said, she's so fucking cute. No, what am I thinking about? Damn, I gotta get to class. Issei said, sorry, but I gotta get out of here. This is where, well, Issei is running down the hallway and kind of trying to get to class. He's not trying to get there late and answer a bunch of random stupid questions from people. When he gets to his class, he noticed that the door is still open, mostly the back door. So, of course, he opens it very quietly, gets inside, gets toward his spot, sits there, lays down, and, of course, gets his mostly bag. This is where, well, he then gets the book that he was reading, mostly lineage, and decides to start reading it, waiting for mostly the couple of 5 seconds or 5 minutes to be over now, mostly till the teacher comes. This is where, well, Issei starts reading about his lineage and trying to figure out what is kind of missing. This is where, well, what he figures out mostly from the page is mostly his lineage, actually comes from a mostly descendant of mostly royalty noble blood. This is where, well, he also figured out that his mostly royalty noble blood is from this family called the Doxy or whatever, and the fact that they are from the noble family from something called the world being different before everything changes and mostly the whole countries and other stuff. This is where, well, he mostly listens and mostly wonders what exactly this world has connected, mostly to modern time world. He keeps reading upon, but mostly 5 minutes are over and then class appears. Teacher goes in, and of course, where, well, he then goes on with saying that we have a new student, and of course, Issei was confused because first of all, he's not a new student. He looks up for a second and sees, well, someone actually appeared. Mostly this is where, well, a blondish haired girl with kind of dullish blue eyes, and of course a girl next to her with kind of blackish hair and of course magenta eyes appear. This is where, well, mostly the teacher says, these are the two new transfer students towards mostly Koa Academy. Can you two introduce yourself? Mostly the blondish hair with two ponytails kind of says, yes, my name is Junko Enishima. This is where she smiles. This is where, well, she smiles with such an evil grin. Mostly, but of course, mostly girls think that she's smiling like happy, and guys, for some reason, feel like they have a creepy feeling that not to mess with her. Of course, Issei kind of just doesn't really pay attention. He looks out for a second and says, oh, cool, two new strengths pursuing. Don't care. This is where, well, the other girl, mostly, she says, my name is mostly Rainer Anishima. This is where Issei looks up for a second and looks at the girl. Now, of course, for some reason, the girl seemed familiar for some reason. Then he doesn't care. He looks back down at his book. Now, of course, mostly the teacher says, okay, you two will be sitting next to Haidu. Now, we haven't seen Haidu for a second. This is where the teacher looks towards mostly a person right now reading the book. And, of course, we're sitting on Issei's kind of spot. This is where the teacher says, hey, you. This is where all the students look behind towards to see where Issei sometimes sits. Issei looks up and says, what do you want? This is where, mostly the teacher says, who exactly are you? This is where Issei says, ... Oh shit, right, my fucking look. Issei says, so, funny story is, I don't know what the fuck to explain to you, but you can just talk to my fucking daughter about how the fuck I change. But, other than that, it's me, Issei Hyodo. The fuck you want me to say? This is where, Issei said with such an annoyed tone because he literally got cut off before he can read into mostly his lineage further in, but yeah. This is where, the teacher says, wait, you're Issei? But you don't look anything like Issei. Issei says, I don't know how to explain this to you, teach. Fucking go talk to my daughters then. If you want to know, talk to my daughters. They probably gave me steroids when I was in the fucking hospital. I don't know, I had a weird, terrible disease that literally would have killed me. So fuck off for a second. Issei was kind of getting quite annoyed with all these stupid questions from the teacher. But of course, students are just looking at Issei. And this is where people are just started whispering saying, is that really Issei? There's no way in hell Issei became that good looking. Some of the girls start talking. Some of them are from the Keno class. And this is where, mostly Murahama Matsui says, Issei, you traitor! How did you become a pretty boy? This is where Issei looks at both of his friends and then smiles with an evilish kind of smirk and says, you know what? Just go talk to my daughter. Maybe he has a way to give you fucking steroids so you people can shut the fuck up. Leave me alone for a second. Issei said with such an annoyed tone, and this is where his eyes glowed for a second purple. And of course, this is where, he glares at his friends because they're quite fucking annoying. This is where, a pressure of power actually emitted from him knocking out his two friends. Literally, they became unconscious. Top. This is where, Issei kind of looks back at his book because he didn't really care what happened to his friends. But of course, when he looks back up because he heard them both fall down forward, this is where, he was confused and saying, Murahama Matsui, what the fuck are you? Whatever, I don't care. This is where everyone is just confused and people are just saying, damn, that glare was so scary that his eyes looked like it turned purple for a second and looked like he just scared the shit out of Murahama Matsui and knocking them out. Bro, that's crazy. Everyone's just going out of craziness. Mostly the teacher was trying to calm down everyone and saying, calm down everyone. Well, Mrs. Junko and Rainer, you two will be sitting next to, mostly over there at somewhere at the spot next to Issei-san. And now Issei might look different, it might act a little bit different, but just know for sure that he's a pervert. This is where, both of them nodded, of course, kind of sitting next to, mostly Issei, the two chairs. Yeah, that was kind of vacant. Issei is sitting next to the window, and this is where Junko sits in the middle, so mostly Rainer doesn't need to be involved with a pervert. This is where Issei is looking at his book and trying to figure out what the hell he was at. Where the hell he was at before being bothered. Now, of course, the teacher goes on with the lesson. Of course, ignoring mostly Issei's antics and also Murahama Matsui. Which Matsui and Murahama woke up back again, kind of confused. Now, of course, Murahama is trying to bother Issei by kind of poking or mostly making hand gestures for Issei to kind of notice. Issei doesn't pay attention. He doesn't care, actually. Not just him making hand gestures. When he looks to mostly the kind of right of him to see Junko is kind of glancing at him most of the time, looking at him like if he was a different being from her. This is where, Issei says, mostly with a look of, what the fuck are you looking at? This is where, mostly Junko looks back at the, forwards to look at the teacher, but yeah. This is where, we go into the end of the period. Now, of course, this is where Issei was called up to go to Sona's office, which he does kind of go up there to see, Sona and mostly the uniform that mostly Tsubaki came with. This is where, there's two pairs and yeah. This is where, Issei says, is this the new uniform I have? This is where, Issei asks Tsubaki. Tsubaki looks up and says, yeah. This is where her face becomes a little bit tint of blush from how Issei looks completely different, but yeah. So yeah, Tsubaki kind of just look up because she's 5'7" with Issei being 6 feet. Issei say, "Oh, well, that's good to know." Issei takes his uniform and goes to the kind of like, well, mostly bathroom to kind of change. And of course, asks Tsubaki if mostly she can like keep the other pairs of uniform here at the kind of office because he will come back to get them later. But yeah, this is where Tsubaki nodded dumbly, dumbfounding, and of course, where well, Issei goes off to kind of go to class. Well, his next pairs of class. Of course, where well. Before Issei kind of walking fully towards, well, mostly class, he feels like he has someone gazing upon him. This is where, well, Issei looks towards mostly the end of the hallway, and what he sees is mostly someone with kind of reddish hair and kind of greenish blue eyes, kind of just glancing at him, surprised to see him alive. Issei looks at her with just uncaring look, but yeah, before Issei getting towards class, he was actually instantly grabbed and, of course, just thrown into mostly the janitor's room. This is where, well, he was surprised and sees mostly the same girl that was supposedly the new transfer student. This is where, well, she whispers mostly under her breath with a very unknowing tone, but at the same time serious tone, saying, "How are you alive?" She said with such a serious tone. Issei looks at her and says, "The fuck you going on? What, you were supposed to think I'm dead or something?" "Oh yes, probably because my sickness was supposed to kill me or something." She glared at Issei with a fury in her eyes, just annoyed at the fact that Issei's joking about death. This is where she says, "No, I'm not talking about that. Actually, I didn't even know you were sick." Issei looks at her, takes a very good glance at her, and of course her aura seems familiar. Now, of course, he doesn't even know about aura, he can just sense. This is where, well, Issei says, "Okay, so, let me get this right. Are you Reina or Yuma?" This is where, well, mostly Yuma went in her eyes, and mostly Reina just went in her eyes. And said, "How did you know? How did you know that? You told me in the fucking beginning also you looked exactly the same as when we went on that date." Actually, I don't even know what the fuck happened on our date. All I remember was passed out, woke up, and confused. Did you try to arm me or something? This is where Raymond's face becomes all red. It's like, "No, I didn't try to do anything." Her face is just trying to deny any accusation that she did anything towards Issei. This is where, well, she just wanted to say that she killed him. But of course, Rainer thinks that mostly Issei doesn't remember, which she then kind of happily thinks that thank goodness that mostly Issei doesn't remember. At the same time, her father did scold the fact that she did try to kill him. This is where, well, she now can go report back to her father saying that, well, she didn't actually kill him and he's alive. This is where, well, all ends well and all it's good. This is where, well, she says, "No, nothing. If you don't remember anything, well, that's good to know. I'm just gonna go off." This is where, well, Rainer kind of just walks away, but yeah, she opens the janitor room and just walks away, closing the door. Issei's eyes were glancing a little bit with a kind of, his eyes became purple for a second and just says, "She's hiding something." She didn't even say she was Rainer Yuma. So of course, she's hiding something entirely. But what is that answer anyway? Whatever. This is where the whole day goes on to be kind of troublesome. People kind of ask him if he really changed, if he's still a pervert, blah 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 blah. Issei want to freeze them all entirely, or just tell them to F off, which he doesn't even know he still knows about his ice powers, but don't worry about that. This is where Issei has been reading the book, but he's been bothered the whole day, so he just didn't not care, have a care in the world to actually come to class the last couple of periods, and just decides to go up to the rooftop and just read upon his book. So yeah, this is where, well, he was reading upon what it was on with his lineage, so he knows that he's from a noble family when a long time ago. He also finds out that he's exactly from a noble family, but a child that actually became a pirate. Somewhat of a pirate something called a warlord? Yeah, not warlord, a warlock? Or not warlock, what was it called? So, mostly this person was a warlord. He remembers his name clearly from mostly the book. His name what's it called? Dofi Donxi? That was his name. And of course, he then hears upon mostly the writing and text about who exactly this man was. He was a cruel son of a bitch that didn't care about anyone's feelings. This is where, well, he then reads upon it more and more. And he sits and thinks about it saying, That's interesting. I might also want to become like a cruel son of a bitch like this person. But that's not the point. Issei then kind of goes off with reading more about, well, his legacy. And of course, he found out one fucking interesting key, well, mostly key thing about Doflamingo. He finds that the Doflamingo ate a devil fruit called the Ito Ito no Mi, being the string devil fruit. He then hears upon, well, the devil fruits more in detail in a different page of, well, the mostly book, the legacy book. And of course, what he finds out, there's so many devil fruits that you can get this and that, whatever. There's also hawking and other stuff. So all those things from mostly the One Piece manga book thing, or anime, he then watched or read a while ago, was actually a real thing connected to real life. This is where, well, he was shocked to believe that. This is where, well, Issei says, so if all that is real, does that mean, no, can it? And this is where Issei looks at his hand, and this is where he clenches it, and this is where eyes started appearing in his right hand. Issei said, oh my god. Issei said, wait, what can I actually do with my hand? What exactly do I even have? So I don't know what exactly I have. But maybe those dreams can tell me more upon what I have. So it's ice, blue flames, and greenish aura barrier. Could it be those? If I have that, I'm going to change my life. Time to no longer be a pervert, but time to be the fucking man that I'm supposed to be from this book. He then kisses the book and says, life is going to change and I won't care too much about it. He smiles with such an evilish grin that appearing on his face. He then just decides to go downstairs, go into his last period, and of course his robotics, but of course he just doesn't care. And of course he does do his kind of robot project that he needs to do with mostly his two friends, being Masue Murahama. But of course they're right now kind of glaring at Issei from the fact that he became good looking and they haven't become any good looking. This is where, well, Issei just glances at them and just tells them to fuck off and just do the damn robot project. But yeah. Now, this is where, well, we go into Issei kind of getting out of school and going home. Now, of course, this is where, well, before going home, he decides to call his parents that he's going to go do something, which Issei goes to a forest instead. Issei goes to touch a tree in an instant, with his hand being like in this permafrost color, and when he touches the tree literally turned into an ice tree. Issei widens his eyes and says, what the? Could it be? That have Kozaru's devil fruit? Issei then thinks about that one person named Kozaru, Akiji Kozaru. This is where Issei smiles and says, if that's the case I'm going to train. No longer being a pervert. It's time for me to train and do my, well, figure out my powers. But other than that, let's do this. Issei goes on with just training, but yeah. This is where, well, I'm going to leave it off here for part 2 of this what if, because yeah. But other than that, have a nice day, night, sleep, whatever. I'm gonna go. Bye.